Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And President Griscom, welcome to you and your leadership team. It's been great to learn a little bit more about Thaddeus Stevens. I certainly learned some really interesting information that I was not fully abreast of before this hearing. So it shows the value, I think, of having these kind of conversations during the appropriations process. My interest in technical skills, in interest of full disclosure, my idea of technical skill is 1-800-CALL-DAD. That's about all I can do.
Okay.
But I have tremendous admiration for the men and women that have the kind of tactile skills and the aptitude to do some of the trades and the crafts that you've referenced throughout your testimony. And I would certainly concur, particularly as I shell out bill after bill on invoices, frankly, how lucrative it can be as a profession. In the interest of another piece of full disclosure, I'm a faculty member at a traditional four-year university, but I also have great support for supporting a range of higher education options across the state. But sort of dovetailing a little bit with some of your observations and comments, I've had that same thought a number of times on my traditional four-year university, where a number of these young people would be better served in a setting such as yours. I think they would do better. I think they would flourish better in terms of their growth, development. I think they would be happier, frankly. And I think the barrier I see is one of prestige. It is an issue of prestige and whether certain types of work are somehow inherently more worthwhile than others. So the extent we in the legislature can partner with you to try to spread the message that there are tremendous opportunities economically to pursue some of these skills and trades, I know, and the rest of the committee, I'm sure, would like to work with you on that. And I'm not sure that's entirely a question versus a comment, but I think you're on the right track, that if we can try to pursue the idea of breaking down some of the prestige barriers, because that's what I hear from, frankly, the young people at the campus I teach at, is I want to make some money, but I also want to have the perception of having a more, what some would say is a degree that's seen as differently because it's white collar versus blue collar. So I think you're on the right track in that path.
I think that's a great point, and that is, the perception is an important part of that. I'm not sure, I've seen friends of mine over the years, and now I'm a grandparent, so I've seen friends of my children, just be so proud that their child got accepted in such and such an institution, and we don't see that when they're accepted at Thaddeus Stevens College of Technology. That's the input side. But on the outcome side, look where these students are in 5 and 10 years, and we've got a number of multimillionaires that have graduated from our institution that own construction companies and HVAC companies and so forth and so on. But again, it's a perception thing. Alex was in Switzerland a few years ago on a hot air balloon adventure with one of our graduates, and he landed in a village, right, Alex? Right. And they were having this great big celebration, and they said, "What was this about?" Well, one of the members of the community, one of the young people, had just been accepted into a technical school, and so in the world, sometimes the perception is different than it is here. In this country, you're right. I think that perception is as you described it, and again, there needs to be different options, and students don't need to be appreciated for whatever decision they make. Right now, the only decision that seems to be, I mean, if you were accepted to Harvard, that would be like the ultimate, or MIT or something. And there are other options that are equally valid for other students, but those aren't perceived the same way. So I agree with what you're saying.
Let me raise an interesting question, because I don't know the answer to this as somebody who does have faculty status at one of these traditional, it's a PASHE institution, so it's a state university. Do we, as a state system, do we allow you space and access to our career development centers, to our recruiting areas, to talk with students about options that you offer also as a state institution?
Not that I'm aware of. That's not, we articulate some programs correctly,
Yes,
and we have a good relationship with Millersville, which is our neighbor, and so forth. But it's it's not something where we're in the career center and so forth. I'm aware of just articulation agreements.
Yeah, well, I'd like to work with you going forward to explore some sort of collaboration. You're a state institution. PASHE is obviously the state university system. I think it would be well within our scope of jurisdiction to suggest that some sort of access be granted to your institution to at least market the school, at least provide materials, at least provide a counselor, that students that are looking for different options, they've gotten to college, particularly the first semester freshman year, it can be upwards of a 30% attrition rate at some institutions. Yeah. These students have gotten there, they realize either not ready for it, it's not what they wanted to do, mom and dad pushed them out the door, what have you. And particularly, it is a problem more from the kind of districts I represent, which are higher socioeconomic districts, where the idea of going to college obviously is pushed as the prestige factor by parents, by guidance counselors. Certainly. But I think we have an obligation to provide some sort of state-to-state institution collaboration here. And we can talk offline, but I'd certainly like to explore the parameters of the possible of doing something along those lines. I think it'd be a worthwhile option for a number of our students who are either going to drop out and drift, frankly, or perhaps find a viable, worthwhile alternative for their time and energy when they realize the traditional four-year route is just not what they wanted it to be or expected it to be, and these things happen, of course.
We actually have an employer that has a significant software company. They're international company, and they're called Parts Maker. And we were talking to them last week, and that's actually what they would like to. They know that there's a huge number of four-year graduates out there that don't have jobs. They're bright, young people. They just don't have skills that have value in the marketplace. And what they're suggesting is that we have an associate degree program at our college where we teach Parts Maker, which is a software program that actually makes parts on high-end machine tools. And recruit those students into the programs and allow them to continue to working whatever menial job they may have right now, but to get those skills, and that, the fact that they are such bright young people and have demonstrated their ability by graduating from a four-year institution, give them the skills they need to go into the workplace. And they're talking about, starting salaries of over $50,000. So that's, an exciting prospect for us as well. And I think it would help those kids, because otherwise I'm not quite sure how they're going to pay off their debt and their mortgage and their child care and their car payment. So, that's how we're trying to address that. That's a great idea.
It's an outstanding initiative. And I'll just close by asking you a personal question. I happen to have been on the Thaddeus Stephen campus a couple of times along the way, journeys of life. I had a cousin who actually is one of your alumni, as a matter of fact. But one thing that always has impressed me the times I've been there really is a strong sense of energy and spirit, and enthusiasm and commitment. And you can tell that these young people are very excited about the path they're taking. They know they've made the right choice. It's exciting to them. It's a chance to really direct themselves in a very positive way for themselves. All organizations start from the culture set by the leadership. So I am very, very impressed. I've just met you for the first time today, so to speak, in person. You clearly personified the enthusiasm for Thaddeus Stephen and the mission. I can see that you really feel strongly about it. What drives you to be able to push this kind of...
I would love to accept credit for that, but it's really not me. It's maybe you got to see the recent movie Lincoln and got to see something about Thaddeus Stevens, and it's our founder. I mean, all of us really kind of feed off of that energy. His vision, his principles, and that he lived by, and his philanthropy and so forth. We all just kind of feed off of that. So it's certainly not me. It goes back to the founder, and what we've tried to do is keep that at the forefront, make sure that his principles and what he believed in and so forth are the things that drive our institution. So his spirit and the things that he believed in are part of our mission. We hold that up to our students from the time that they arrive until the time that they leave. You look at Stevens. I mean, he came from dirt poverty. They had a dirt floor in the roof. His father was an abusive alcoholic who abandoned the family when he was 12. And, he overcame incredible circumstances and prejudices to become the person that he was and to give back to society and the community. And that's what we ask of our kids. You can't control the circumstances under which you were born or anything, but do the best that you can, change those circumstances, and give back to the community. And I think that's what you sensed when you were there, because that's alive and well, and was there long before I came, and will be there long after I leave. And that's the great part of the institution. Thank you.
Absolutely. And you and your leadership team have done magnificent work in continuing that legacy. I commend you for it, and we look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.